And we get to continue with Good Morning Kenya. Right now, we will be talking about safeguarding the rights of vulnerable groups. And I am joined by Honorable Nzombo Mbithuka, and he is the Commissioner, National Gender and Equality Commission. Welcome to the show. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. First of all, let us begin by first just noting what the mandate of the Commission is.
So the National Gender and Equality Commission is one of the independent constitutional commissions that was established by our Constitution 2010, pursuant to Article 59 of the Constitution, which created three human rights commissions. Broadly, they're called human rights commissions. And we were also given powers through our establishing act, which is the National Gender and Equality Commissions Act 2011, with the mandate around ensuring gender equality and freedom from discrimination of all Kenyans. But specifically, our mandate focuses on what we call special interest groups, which are the youth, children, persons with disabilities, the elderly, minority and marginalized communities, and women. Yeah.
Now, how would you define safeguarding the rights of vulnerable groups?
So safeguarding these rights, again, is a constitutional imperative. We draw our power from different articles of our Constitution, starting from 26, Article 27, Article 55, 56, and 57 of our Constitution. And this is all around ensuring there is gender equity, but beyond that is freedom from discrimination of all these people, both in terms of economic participation in our nation building, but also for them to be accorded dignity as they serve our country.
Yeah. Which would you say maybe are some of the vulnerable groups that are mostly at risk?
I would say in terms of risk elements, it's to start with is our women and girls. And Vivian, you know that the day before yesterday there was a technical working group that presented its report to the president around the whole area of GBV and femicide, which was growing to alarming levels in our country. Number two is around our youth. One, because they are the largest percentage of our population.
Yeah.
And the vulnerabilities are around access to opportunities, access to education, and also their participation in terms of political process, but also in terms of our economic development as a country. The other aspect in terms of vulnerable groups is our PWDs, both in terms of access to opportunities, but also education and support services that are provided by our country.
Yeah.
But I'll also want to speak about minorities and marginalized populations. Vivian, I don't know whether you know there's a community in this country called Ilimanyang, who live around Lake Turkana.
Yeah.
They're very unique in the sense that they don't have sweat glands. So essentially they require to live in around water bodies.
They don't have sweat glands?
So they don't essentially sweat.
Oh.
So which means that their bodies accumulate excessive amounts of heat, which may impact their livelihoods and also their comfort in terms of participation in nation building. So these are the groups that we will be looking at from a vulnerability perspective, but also our children. Our children from the sense of access to healthcare, access to education, and also their well-being.
Yeah. You know, you've mentioned the groups that are at risk, and I'm actually, you know, as you're speaking, I was trying to find there's a story on, I think it was the Standard. I stand corrected whether it's the Standard or the Daily Nation this morning, where they were talking about, you know, when you talk about gender-based violence, there was a story on blind women who are being sexually assaulted, and they're simply the predators are simply taking advantage simply because they are blind, you know. And when you mentioned that, then that came to mind. So maybe just how can we tackle such?
I think it's a society-wide problem in terms of how we respond to some of these acts. And, we call them opportunistic GBV, where, someone prevails upon you based on your vulnerability. For these particular cases, one of the things that we call upon is our society, because unless all hands are on deck in terms of our response mechanisms, and these people will continue to suffer the indignity and all these violations. So what can be done is that one, there are early warning signs in all these cases, where they live, because we appreciate, and research has shown us that 7% of these cases are caused by people that are known to you, which is around the family. Family is supposed to be where people need to seek refuge, when people need to be comfortable about all these elements. But again, in terms of GBV, we found that the family unit is the singular most vulnerable area for these people in terms of getting violated. So what can be done is that we have duty bearers in our areas. These may be community leaders, maybe religious organizations, maybe also family members, close family members who are aware about these violations. What can they be able to do is one, reporting on these cases, because unless they are reported, then there'll be no interventions from the government perspective to support these people escape these violations. Number two is where these cases have happened, how can we support the victims in terms of post-trauma? They've been violated. How can systems within government support them to recover from these violations? Do we have safe houses where they can be put, for instance? And those are some of the interventions that as a commission we are pushing both the national and county governments to ensure that they are set up to support all these frameworks.
Just to confirm, the story was on the Standard, and the visually impaired women are from Trans Nzoia, and they were just giving their stories on how men predators would just slip into their homes at night. I can't see who you are, and then they would perform the heinous act, which is very, very unfortunate. Anyway,
I want to add something around that area on the whole issue of reporting these cases, because there are challenges, when it comes to our institutions that need to respond to them, be it the police, be it our hospitals, which are the first responders. One is that you are talking about a case of a visually impaired person. Imagine a case of a deaf person. How will they even be able to report this case to police, for instance? Are police empowered to, one, understand sign language and be able to also communicate effectively with these people at that point? Because what happens is that they go through double trauma, where, yes, they've been violated, but again, whenever they go to these stations, is that the experience is not as smooth, because there are no people to support them in terms of just the reporting mechanism.
There's already the barrier,
because like for that particular case, you imagine that this person has to be supported in terms of having a guide to take them to a police station. And you may find that the guide is also known to the person that violated them. So it becomes, an extra pain to them. It's double trauma. They get violated, but they cannot be able to get redress.
What other gaps would you say are standing, in place of us getting to a point where we are truly safeguarding our vulnerable people?
The other gaps is society itself, where we've normalized some of these things. You find in some communities that they do the ADR, alternate dispute resolution, where there's a form of compensation. Yes, we've been violated, but wazees sit around, you're not even there, and agree that the violator pays a fine of 1 goat or 2 goats or 1 sheep. In the Muslim community it's called masla, and you imagine the scar that remains in the person that has been violated. Yes, wazees have sat around, they've secured this fine, but what happens after that? Because this scar, the trauma still continues to sit with this person. There's no psychosocial support that has been offered to them. The other gap or the other challenge around it is is the fragmented nature of responding to these some of these issues. Will you report to the police? Will you report to a hospital? What is the process? So there's a gap in terms of public education and information on how to respond to these violations.
Yeah.
Then, last but not least is the judiciary and the judiciary mechanism around, what is the turnaround of these cases? How long does it take? Because if a case of this nature takes 2 years, it's draining to the person because they have to relive that experience.
Yes.
Every other time they have to come to court and speak about it. It traumatizes them. So preference is if we can be able to have expedited processes. In this country, we've it in law that presidential petitions have to be heard within a certain period of time. How if we put it in law and say that we have specialized courts that are trained, capacity built to be able to handle these cases, and the turnaround is, say 2-3 months, so that the person that is coming to give evidence does not need to come every other time.
And relieve it every other time.
Relieve it every other time, because again, Vivian, there is the intersection between all these cases and poverty. Rarely will you hear about these violations in well-to-do families, very minimal cases. So the most vulnerable are the ones who are living in poverty, in our rural areas, in our informal settlements, because that is the time that people take advantage of some of the factors that now become triggers.
Yeah, and I hope that is actually something that can be looked into, that turnaround time. We have a set time for such cases. Would you say you feel there's progress that has been made this far?
I would say yes and no. Because in this age and time, you expect that because as a country we are highly educated, highly exposed in terms of matters around human rights, matters on knowing according dignity to the other human, be it a woman, be it a youth, be it a girl, be it a PWD, be it a minority. That education ought to have contributed immensely towards reduction of most of these cases. But we've not been able to do enough. Two is that on the positive side, I think there's progress. And one of the greatest indicators is the posture from the top. Our president in 2024 December set out these technical working group because of all these cases on an almost daily basis. We were getting a femicide case. So he set up a technical working group that was looking at both GBV and femicide, to ensure that as a country we can be able to go to the ground and get feedback on what is it that as a country we need to do to address these national crises. And I think the fact that the report has been handed over to the president, now the next step is rolling the wheel, ensuring that action is taken and interventions can be put in good time. Because one case is one too many of a violation or a death that occurs because of all these violations.
So, with that you were talking about, when it comes to gender-based violence. So the minority being now the women, right? And the president has tried to do quite a lot, with putting that task force, working force rather, that actually got to present the report to him just previously. Maybe, are there other proper policies in place? Are there proper policies that need to be put in place in order to ensure we are safeguarding, the vulnerable groups? And by vulnerable groups, not just women, all together.
But Vivian, you'll be happy to hear that as a commission, we've also supported in setting up or giving an advisory that led to the setting up of the minorities department within the presidency. After that was set up, we've worked with the presidency, and on December 10th, the president launched the national policy on minorities, which again addresses, I spoke about Ilmanyang and the rest, the very minorities within our country. So what does that policy do is that it addresses issues on traditional marginalization around both representation and appointments. And to know that there is soon going to be set up council, a national council that is going to be solely focused on ensuring that these people can be brought to the mainstream of our population, and they can be able to participate rightfully towards national development. Number 2 is around the PWDs, and the president again last year ascended to the PWD Act 2025. And among some of the safeguards is around access to education, access to public services, and ensuring that there is representation both at appointive and also at elective levels. What does that do is that it continues building momentum towards these people, feeling dignified to support our country's development. But beyond that is that the people that come after them will not feel that they are indignified or they are at the bottom of the pyramid, that there are people that they can be able to look up to. And you've been able to see it across the country. Deliberately, the government is doing all these programs to ensure that everyone feels they belong. Because like in PWD, we say that they're not different. It's just a different way of being as human beings, and the appreciation of society towards that is going to go a long way in terms of just empowering these populations. For our children, again, there are acts of parliament that have come in place to ensure that they have equal access to education and also dignified living. And all these programs are supporting the government towards ensuring that there's greater inclusion. Yeah.
So a lot has been done. It's only a matter of implementation now.
Absolutely. And now I wish that we can get velocity towards action. We don't have to stagger it for a period of time. Our constitution, like for instance, spoke about in terms of fulfillment of representation, that this will be achieved at a certain period of time, gradually. But my wish is that how if we can be able to do it within a shorter period of time.
Yeah. There was a time there was a conversation on access for people living with disabilities, specifically those on wheelchairs, and there was a conversation on just us ensuring that they have access to simple things as just moving around, because sometimes it's not very accessible for them to move around the city, and even when they're getting onto matatus and whatnot. There was a conversation around that. What would be your way in on that?
I think that has been addressed by the PWD Act 2025. It mandates buildings and public spaces to be accessible, both using ramps, but also ensuring that there is reasonable accommodation to people that have different forms of disabilities. Two, around mobility, in terms of public transport, I wish to report that we are working with the NAMATA. We have active conversations to ensure that our public transport systems, our buses, the people that do bodybuilding for these vehicles have consideration of this and have accessibility as what we call the job zero. Before you think about anything in terms of design, your job zero is to ensure that all these are accessible. And just to know that, from a technology perspective, technology is playing a very big role to ensuring that some of these actions can be implemented in terms of movement. Right now, you have applications that can be able to aid someone that is visually impaired, for instance, to be able to navigate independently.
Yeah. Would you say as a commission you have faced or are facing any kind of resistance, especially when it comes to challenging deeply rooted norms?
That's expected, because change is never easy. Because for us, we are driving a systemic change where there are deep-rooted practices, for instance, around FGM in some communities. Yes, we know there is an anti-FGM act which outlaws this practice. But you go into some communities and find that, it's deeply rooted. They've gone to the extent of, what we are calling obstetric FGM, where parents are even going to the extent of seeking advice or seeking services of medical practitioners for them to be able to do these practices. So that is one of the biggest challenges for us, because one, we found that enforcement through legal mechanisms may not be able to give us the results. Because yes, we've taken them to safe houses, we've taken them through alternate rites of passage, but then when they go back to their communities, they find that they're the minorities, and there is peer pressure. When it comes to, in some communities, for you to get married, on the date of the marriage, that's when now, the moment of truth dawns on you. That, there are procedures that will ensure that you undergo the cut. If you escape that process, at the time that you're doing delivery, and most of it in some of our communities is at home, then they'll do it at that vulnerable point where you cannot be able to resist it. You'll have escaped all these other processes, but then it becomes challenges. That's one around FGM. That's very
unfortunate.
Again, around early marriages. We find that, in some communities, the girl's education is deprioritized to the boy, which means that when they reach a certain age, then they're beaded, and they get sweaters. And more often than not, it's older men in the communities. So these will take a lot of systemic change in terms of public education and getting other people, non-state actors, religious organizations, community-based organizations to, one, educate the public around it, and for us to secure the goodwill. Because yes, we're saying it's such a momentous task, but it can be done because other communities have been able to do it. I think that's the greatest one. Two, in terms of some of the challenges, is again around resourcing. As a commission, we are very thin on the ground. We would wish that we can be capacitated to, one, be at the last mile, where all these violations are happening, and we can be able to now support both duty bearers and also support the survivors and victims to heal through the process.
I want to get back to the norms, the deeply rooted ones that have been part of different communities. How, or rather, the question isn't even how. The question is, are you seeing a time where we'll get to a point where we completely challenge some of these norms, and we live in a society where the ones that are unfair, like the FGM and early marriages, which are quite unfortunate that to date, these are things that are still being practiced. How are we going to ever get to that point?
It's my firm belief that that's going to happen.
How soon?
In terms of the global projection, because that's around gender parity. We are 134 years away from achieving that. Because anything that slows us down towards ensuring that there's dignity and also equality for these people in our populations, then it slows down that progress. So 134 years is a global projection. As a country, my firm belief is that with aggressive action, we can achieve this goal much faster. Education is going to play a very big role, and education meaning that both at the population level, but also again in terms of ensuring that our girls are in school longer, because research has shown that every other year spent in school increases 17%. By 17%, opportunities for the girl in terms of economic empowerment and opportunities for both employment, but also economic participation. If that can be done aggressively, and it's about opening up infrastructure to ensure that schools are available in these areas. If you go to Samburu, how far are schools from each other? What can be done? How can we secure support of our national government and administration officers to ensure that, one, they are mandated by law to ensure that, beyond being a first responder, they become the first people to report on these cases. Because they're happening within their localities. So obviously, because of our Nyambakumi setups, our family setups, they can be able to know when a girl has been beaded and is being married off.
I'll ask you to just hold that thought. We take a break and then we get back to the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying with us. Before we took that break, Honorable Nzomo, you were just letting us in, or just talking to us on matters education and how that can be used in order for us to just challenge these norms that are so deeply rooted, for us to be able to just get rid of them.
Right. So thanks a lot, Vivian. In terms of education, one is to the curricula is a core area of study. Yeah. But we, as a commission, we did a study, or pilot study with support from JICA last 2-3 years, with a pilot that ran in Nairobi and Machakos, where we did gender clubs. It's mixed schools. We use karate as one of the media, in terms of joint training, both for the girls as a defense mechanism, but also for discipline for both parties. Beyond that is that we also introduce a board game, and I'll be more than glad to, one of these days come to the studio and show it to you. So what does this do? Is that it creates sensitization around these youth at a very young age, in terms of respect for dignity and rights for both gender, and that is both the boy and girl. They get to understand and get aware about some of the developments that people go through, and most important is to learn to treat each other with dignity. Very positive results, and this study, as we are going into the next phase where we're looking at how can this be scaled up in partnership with the Ministry of Education, where we have gender clubs, and all these will support towards ensuring that we can be able to reduce some of these cases. Yeah. Beyond that is what I spoke about curricula, because unless it's inculcated in us very early, then we also grow up in a society that sees the opposite gender as in some of our communities as equal to children. We treat our women as in equal terms as the way we would treat kids. So if we put it in curricula, then from a very early age, our kids will learn that we are all humans, and they will grow up respecting the dignity of the other persons and their role in terms of nation building and also participation in our society. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have data? Data on all of these things that you're talking about? For example, when it comes to the teen marriages, do we have data on all of this?
I would say that data is one of the biggest problems, the biggest challenge that we have as a country on especially GBV. But allow me to speak about probably around early teen pregnancies, because it's so a menace in some of our counties. If you go to most of our hospitals, we had a visit in Laikipia County, and more than 60% of births there, it's teen pregnancies, meaning kids that ought to be in school, but they've become mothers. Mothers, where it's mostly cases of defilement which go unreported. So this 60% of teen mothers is 60% defilement cases that are happening in our villages. The Ministry of Education has numbers. They shared around 21,000 cases last year. And what happens is that most of these girls never go back to school. So meaning that they end up getting married early. They get into complications because them having not finalized their education journey is that they also become vulnerable. They increase the cycle of poverty, that they cannot access decent jobs. They become home builders, and as they become home builders, and that's an area of vulnerability that they cannot be able to support their families and themselves. So when they get violated, instead of seeking redress, most of the times they just sit in.
Allow me to cut you short. We need to head to State House